Combining the epic scale of Star Wars, the political intrigue of Game of Thrones, and the environmental themes of Avatar, that's Dune, the sci-fi masterpiece that has been called the greatest cinematic achievement of the decade by The Guardian. But how did this movie come to be, and what secrets lie behind its stunning visuals and complex story? Let's find out. So, the movie brings half of Frank Herbert's out-of-this-world novel of 1965 to the big screen. This flick tracks the crazy ride of Paul Atreides, our very own Timothée Chalamet, who plays a young man inheriting the responsibility of looking after the desert planet Arrakis, aka Dune. This place is the only source of this mega-important spice called melange, which helps the brain power and space travel. But watch out, it's also crawling with massive sandworms and the tough native Fremen folks. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, it's a total feast for the mind-blowing effects, real locations, and epic sets and costumes when it comes to visuals. The cast totally nails it too, especially Timothée Chalamet as Paul and Rebecca Ferguson as his mom, Lady Jessica. Dune doesn't just stick to the script, it tackles big issues like nature, politics, identity, and fate. Dune actually features a clever wordplay. For instance, Arrakis is like Iraq, spice is like gasoline, and the universe is like the economy, telling the story of what went down in the Middle East during the 70s, the gas crisis. Not to forget those Middle Eastern vibes in the clothing and names. When it comes to Arrakis, the Emperor's Palace is a sight to behold. That massive painting showed huge sandworms being tamed for spice, almost like diligent Fremen made it under the governor's nose. And the skillful work reminds the fans of those cool outfits of the Lord of the Rings films. Those elven cloaks and dwarven gear had hidden messages, making their world so much more interesting. Now, as this movie features very little CGI, these ornithopters were no CGI illusions as well. They were real, perched on Budapest's highest hills, operated using gimbals. The actors could hop in and be rocked and rolled by the effects team to nail those hair-raising scenes. And by hoisting, swiveling, and spinning the thopter, the gimbal added a hefty dose of realism to the otherworldly contraption. Well, here's a funny tidbit for you. Turns out Josh Brolin was a bit gassy in the ornithopter scenes. Sharon Duncan Brewster spilled the beans, joking about his farts always cracking her up. Do you remember that Harkonnen's larger-than-life figure mirrors his insatiable greed and hunger for power? Well, in an interview with IndieWire, Stellan Skarsgård, the seasoned actor, confessed that he spent 30% of his time on the makeup chair. He even joked about not needing to flex his acting muscles too much, because most of his menacing aura came from his physical presence and the snazzy suit he donned as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Speaking of suits, this movie had to get hands on 1,000 costumes, made by costume mavens Jacqueline West and Bob Morgan. The costumes drew inspiration from Greek and Roman tales, plus the iconic still suits designed to keep the wearer's sweat in check had to be tailored based on the actor's measurements so they fit like a glove and moved with them. But it seems like there was a bit of a not-so-fair situation with the still suits for male and female actors. In an interview, Duncan Brewster mentioned that the guys' suits had some handy openings for them to, use the bathroom easily. But for the ladies, including herself, they had to take the whole suit off just to go. Remember the scene where Thufir Hawat is strolling around with a parasol, looking like he's out for a leisurely stroll, instead of inspecting spice silos? There's a cool story behind that parasol. Turns out it was a lifesaver for Stephen McKinley Henderson, who plays Hawat, on a scorching day in Hungary. The makeup crew, being the real MVPs, brought him the parasol to shield him from the sun. Director Denis Villeneuve spotted Henderson with it, and he loved it. Music is like a magic carpet ride into the heart of a movie, and Zimmer wanted fans to feel like they were teleported to a whole new galaxy. Hans Zimmer, a diehard fan of the original books, bravely took on the challenge of scoring the movie during the pandemic. Despite the chaos, he boldly ventured into uncharted musical territories, even creating new instruments and crafting his own otherworldly melody for the choral parts. Dune was slated to hit the big screens in late 2020, but the COVID-19 curveball threw it off track. However, it made a grand entrance at the 78th Venice International Film Festival on September 3, 2021. and then strutted onto the global stage on September 15th. It finally landed in the US theaters and on HBO Max on October 22nd. As the numbers rolled in, Dune proved to be a real jackpot, raking in a whopping $402 million with a $165 million budget. Critics and moviegoers alike showered it with praise for its director, Denis Villeneuve. These striking visual effects, daring ambition, stunning costumes, Hans Zimmer's magical tunes, breathtaking cinematography, and staying true to its literary roots. It even snagged 6 awards at the 94th Academy Awards and scored 4 nominations, including a Best Picture nod. The accolades just kept pouring in, with many hailing it as one of the finest sci-fi flicks of the 21st century.
Deal with this prophet. Show me who you are.
With this much success, we'll have Dune Part 2 in the theater next year on March 1st, 2024. The sequel's release date has had quite the rollercoaster ride, originally set for October 20th, 2023, then moving to November 17th, 2023, shifting earlier to November 3rd, 2023, and finally taking a giant leap to March 15th, 2024, all thanks to the SAG-WGA strikes. Now, let's talk about Chani. Zendaya's role is about to get a major boost in the sequel. Director Denis Villeneuve spilled the spice, confirming that Chani's presence will be amplified in the next installment. It seems the spotlight will be shining even brighter on Zendaya, and fans are buzzing with anticipation to see her take center stage in the story. But the Dune universe isn't done expanding yet. A spin-off series titled Dune: The Prophecy is in the works for Max, formerly HBO Max, delving into the tales of 2 Bene Gesserit sisters, a staggering 10,000 years before Paul Atreides came into the picture. And there's even talk about exploring the sequel book Dune Messiah. Looks like we're in for a sandstorm of epic Dune adventures. Now, we all know that our Paul Atreides, known as Timothée Chalamet in the real world, has been roaming around all lovey-dovey with Kylie Jenner. They both showed up at the WSJ Magazine Innovator Awards, looking all sleek in black and even sat close during dinner. Then when Chalamet rocked Saturday Night Live, Kris Jenner, Kylie's mom, gave a sly nod to the maybe romance on Instagram. She was subtly rooting for him, and Jenner even hit up the after party to show her support. It's all pretty hush-hush with no official word from either of them. But the signs are there. Guess we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled for more clues. Speaking of relationships, Zendaya aka Chani in Dune 1 was caught on video signing Spider-Man posters for the brothers' trust with Tom Holland. The clip spread on social media with fans gushing over their display of love. On X, formerly Twitter, fans couldn't help but swoon over their adorable gesture, praising them for being real-life superheroes. Looks like this couple is winning hearts both on and off the screen. But it's not the only news Zendaya is making headlines for. Some old controversy with comedian Matt Rife from 2015 has resurfaced. During an episode of Wild 'N Out, he tried to get her to crack in a game of talking spit. The goal was to make the other person laugh so hard that they spit out their water. Rife dropped some lines that didn't sit right and even went as far as grabbing Zendaya's face without her consent, which didn't go down well with her team. Now fans are digging up this clip and giving Rife a hard time for it. So, with all this much awesomeness, what's the rating of this movie? Well, Dune 2021 rocks with a killer 8 out of 10 rating on IMDb. People are all about it, praising how it brings Arrakis and its unique culture to life. And most reviewers are saying it's a legit reflection of the original novel by Frank Herbert. With that being said, are you excited for the next part? If you watch this movie, let us know what you think in the comments.